Hi there, welcome to this video. So in this particular session, I've prepared a couple of questions from Mathematics Paper 2. I know you're preparing for GC exams, so I've decided to come up with these questions to help you prepare and get ready for the exams. So let's just get started and solve the questions together. Okay, so the first question says, matrix A is equal to, this is matrix A, and matrix B is equal to that. Given that the determinants of matrices A and B are equal, part A says find the value of M, part B says find the inverse of matrix B. So this is a topic that comes every year. So we expect a topic called matrices in Mathematics Paper 2, okay? So let's see what we are supposed to do in this particular question. So what we are told is that we are given two matrices A and B, and these matrices have the same determinant. The determinant of A is equal to the determinant of B. The first question is asking us to find the value of M. So what is the value of M that is missing there? Okay, so how do we go about finding the value of M? So what we can notice here is that matrix A is a complete matrix, okay? By the way, these are 2 by 2 matrices because for each of these matrices, we have 2 rows and 2 columns, okay? Yeah, so we are asked to find the value of M. We can see that matrix A is complete because all the elements are there. However, matrix B is not complete because the value of M is missing. That is why the examiner here is asking us to find the value of M. So how do we go about finding the value of M? Because we know that the determinants of A and B are the same, we can first of all use matrix A to find its determinant because everything has been provided. Then we can now use the determinant of A to find the value of M because we know that the two matrices have the same determinant. So the next question that we need to answer is how do we find the determinant of a 2 by 2 matrix? So, okay, so every time we want to find the determinant of a 2 by 2 matrix is super easy. Let's suppose we have a matrix, M, and this matrix M has these elements. So we have A, B, C, and D. So how do we find the determinant of a 2 by 2 matrix? So to find the determinant of a 2 by 2 matrix is super easy. So what you're going to do is you're going to say the determinant of matrix M written like this, or sometimes you can write this with these symbols, the absolute value symbols. It means determinant, okay? Yeah, so determinant of matrix M, what you just need to do if you're finding the determinant of a 2 by 2 is this. You multiply the elements of the leading diagonal or the major diagonal, okay? So determinant of matrix M here will be A times D, AD, then minus the product of the minor diagonal. So the minor diagonal is this one here, okay? So B times C or BC. For example, if matrix M is this 2, 1, 3, 1, what is the determinant of this matrix? So determinant of matrix M will be equal to the product of the major, it means 2 times 1, minus the product of the minor, 1 times 3. So you multiply 2 times 1, 2, minus 1 times 3, 3, and the determinant is negative 1. Okay, that is how you find the determinant. Apart from that, there's also another concept that has been asked in this question, that is inverse of a matrix. So to find the inverse of a matrix, you see this written as m to the power negative 1. It means inverse of a matrix. So to find the inverse of a matrix, all you need to do is this. Inverse of a matrix is equal to 1 divided by the determinant of that matrix multiplied by the adjoint of that matrix. Okay? So it's 1 over the determinant of the matrix multiplied by the adjoint of the matrix. Now, we know what the determinant means. We know what it is. So we know what it is, but how do we find the adjoint of a matrix? So in this case, what you're going to be given is a 2 by 2 matrix. So to find the adjoint of a 2 by 2 matrix is super easy. So for example, what you just need to do, like here I had this matrix. So to find the adjoint of matrix M, all you need to do is you swap the elements of the leading diagonal, you swap them. So it means that the adjoint is another matrix now where the elements of the leading diagonal have been swapped. So so you can see 2 is here, so you swap them with 1. So 1 will now be there, then 2 will be there. Then to the elements of the minor diagonal, you simply change their signs. In other words, you multiply them by -1. So this becomes -1, and this becomes -3. So this is how you would find the adjoint of this matrix. Then to finish it up now, you want to find the inverse of a matrix. So inverse will be equal to 1 over, what was the determinant of this matrix? We saw the determinant was -1 multiplied by what? The adjoint of this matrix, which is 1, -1, -3, 2. Of course, 1 divided by -1 is -1, multiplied by 1, -1, -3, 2. Then you can multiply this throughout. This times that, -1, this times that, +3, this times that, +1, this times that, -2. So this is the inverse of the matrix that we have. Okay, so this is an overview on how to find the inverse, the determinant of a matrix, and things like that. So let's now go back to the question. So here, remember, we were told that these two matrices have the same determinants. They have the same determinants. So let's start with matrix A. So matrix A, so we first of all just start it. Let's go ahead. Let's find the determinant of matrix A. Remember, determinant of a matrix, product of the major. So 2 times 4 minus product of the minor, 1 times -5. Okay, so this will give us 2 times 4 is 8 minus, we have 1 times -5, that is -5. This will give us 8 plus 5, because negative and negative should multiply to give you positive, and this results in 13. Okay, so 13 is the determinant of matrix A. But because of this statement, we know that these two matrices have the same determinant. We can conclude and say the determinant of matrix B is also 13. We know that. Okay, so using this information, we can now figure out what the value of M is. Because we know that matrix B, let me just say, we know that matrix B is this. Matrix B, remember, is 8, 3, M, and 5. So how do we find the determinant of matrix B? Is the same procedure. So we shall say determinant of matrix B is equal to 5 times 8 minus the product of the minor, which is 3 times M. But we know that the determinant is the same as the determinant of A, which we found to be 13. So here we can replace this with 13. So 13 is equal to this times that, 40 minus 3 times M, that's 3M. So you can see this becomes a simple basic equation which we can solve. So we take 40 to the other side, it becomes negative. So to be 13 minus 40 equal to -3M. So 13 minus 40, that is -27. So -27 equal to -3M. So to find the value of M, we simply divide throughout by -3. So -3, -3. So this and that will go. So therefore, M is equal to this negative and that negative will go. Then 3 into 27, that is 9. So that is the value of M. Okay. The next question says, determine the inverse of matrix B. So what is the inverse of matrix B? So now that we know the value of M, it means that this is no longer M there. This is now 9. We know the value of M. So matrix B is now complete. So part 2 So matrix B is now complete and it's equal to 8, 3, 9, 5. And remember, its determinant is still 13. Okay, so the question now says find the inverse. We know how to find the inverse of a 2 by 2 matrix. So in fact, we know how to find the inverse of a matrix. So matrix B, the inverse of a matrix, written like that, is equal to 1 over determinant of matrix B multiplied by the adjoint of matrix B. That's what we know. Okay, so it will be 1 over determinant of matrix B is 13 multiplied by the adjoint of matrix B. Remember how to find the adjoint of a 2 by 2 matrix. So for a 2 by 2 matrix, it's super easy. You simply swap the measures, okay? So this will be 5 there, then 8 there. Then you change the sign of the minus. So this will be -3, -9. Okay, it's okay here. The examiner will still give you the full marks. Or what you can simply do here, you can multiply 1 over 13 throughout. Okay, so this 1 over 13 will multiply every element there. So what we're going to have now is 1 over 13 times 5, 5 over 13, 1 over 13 times 9, -9 over 13, this times that, -3 over 13, this times that, 8 over 13. And this gives you the answer. Okay, so that's what you're supposed to do here. Let's move on to the next question. Okay, so the next question says, evaluate the integral of 2 plus x minus x squared dx from -1 to 2. Okay, so this question is on calculus. To be more precise, it comes from integration, okay? Integration. Yeah, so what are we supposed to do here? So first of all, let me just give you an idea on how to integrate a basic function using what we call the power rule. So every time you have something that looks like this, let me use the... So every time we have a function, okay? Let's say we want to integrate f of x dx, but this function f of x, it has this form, axn plus b. So what are we supposed to do if we want to integrate this, okay? So every time you want to integrate this, I want you to use something called the power rule of integration. So according to this rule, it just tells you that every time you have a function which has this form, to integrate it is super easy. All you need to do is you increase the power by 1. So this power was n. So for every term that has x, increase the power by 1. So it will be n plus 1. Then you divide by the new power, n plus 1. Then every term that has no x, you simply give it what? An x. So it will be this, you can say it plus b, so it becomes plus bx, then plus constant, the constant c. Okay, so this type of integral where we do not have the little numbers here, we don't have the limits, and after integrating, we are adding the constant c. We call it an indefinite integral. Okay, it's an indefinite integral. It can apply to any function because we don't know the specific value of what? Of c. So here we don't find the exact value. Okay, so this is what you need to do. Okay, so a good example is, let's say I'm asked to integrate this dx like that. Okay, so all I need to do is apply the power rule. I know that here there's a power of 1. So what do? 2x I already added, so it will be 1 plus 1 because the power is 1. Then we divide throughout again by 1 plus 1. Okay, then this term has no x, so what do? We just say plus 5x. Then don't forget to add the constant c. Okay, yeah. So this will be 2x, 1 plus 1 is what? 2 over 2 plus 5x plus c. We can simplify here because this and this will cancel to be x squared plus 5x plus c. So this is your answer, and it ends with adding a c. So this is an indefinite integral. Okay, now the one we have here today is where we have some little numbers here. You can see there's a number here and there's a number here. We call these numbers the limits. The one here is called the upper limit, and the one here is called the lower limit. Okay, yeah. So what are we supposed to do? I'll show you in the problem that we have to do today. Yeah, so this is basically how you need to integrate using the power rule. So using this, we can apply it and solve the question that we have today. I know we have the limits there, but I will explain how you handle limits. It's basically the same way we integrate, just a few things that you need to know. So let's go back. So we want to apply now this. So what are we supposed to do? It's the same thing. So the first thing that we need to do here is to integrate. Then we now take into account the limits that we have. Okay? Yeah. So let's do it. So part A. So we have the integral from -1 to 2 of this function. So the first thing is to integrate using the power rule. So take note, the power here is 1. Okay? Yeah. So this will be, this is a term without x. So it will be 2x, then plus x. You can see the power there is 1. So what do? We add 1, then we divide by the new power. So it will be 1 plus 1, then over 1 plus 1. Then minus x, 2 plus 1 over 2 plus 1. Then we integrate from -1 to 2, like that. Okay? Yeah. So it's basically the same thing. The only changes that I've made here is I've now introduced the limits. I'm now integrating from -1 to 2. Basically, I'm finding the area here. I'll explain in more details when I'll make more videos where I'll explain about what is the physical meaning of what you are basically doing here. Yeah, but for now, I just want you to know that this is how you can write it down. Okay? This is how you're going to write down your integral. Okay, so let's simplify. This will be 2x. This will be plus x squared over 2. This will be minus x to the power 3 over 3, like that. Then we're integrating from -1 to 2. Yeah, so let's find this area. Basically, we're finding the area here. We're finding the area. So what do? We're going to say how do we handle these limits? So we're going to find f of 2 minus f of -1. So what I mean here is that you're going to substitute where there's x. You first of all start with the upper limit. You substitute with a 2. So wherever you see x there, you substitute with a 2. Then after that, you're going to say minus. Wherever you see x again, you substitute with a -1. So you start with 2, you find the value. Then you start with, you go in now with -1, you find the value. Then you subtract the two answers. That is what I mean by f of 2 minus f of -1. Let me do it so that you can even have a better understanding of what I mean here. So we're going to say, so 2 will first of all start, then plus, here there's 2 squared over 2, minus where there's x, we put 2, then to the power 3 over 3. So you can say that 2 has done its job. Now -1 will also come in, so minus. So -1 should also come in here. So we're going to say 2 times -1, then plus -1 squared over 2 minus -1 to the power 3 over 3, like that. Then we simplify. Okay, so what are we going to have here? This is 4, 2 squared divided by 2, that's 2. -2 to the power 3 means 2 times 2 times 2, 3 times, which is 8. So to minus 8 over 3 minus, this is -2. This is -1 squared means -1 times -1. Remember, it's in brackets, so it means -1 times -1, which is +1 over 2. Then here, it means -1 times -1 times -1. You have this. So negative times negative, positive, but times negative again, negative. So the answer here is -1. But because of this negative, you can see that here we're going to have -1 over 3. But because of this negative, we're going to have negative times negative, which will give us a positive. So here we're going to have plus 1 over 3. So we just need to simplify here and simplify there, then we're good to go. Okay, so what are we going to have here? So we can see this is 6 here. So it will be 6 minus 8 over 3. Okay, so we can simplify here. Over 1, common denominator here is 3. 1 into 3, 3. 3 times 6, 18. 3 into 3, 1. 1 times -8, -8. 18 minus 8, that is 10 over 3. So what are we getting here? We're getting 10 over 3. But because this is mathematics paper 2, you can also use your calculator here and figure out what the answer is, as long as this process has already been shown. So we're going to say minus. Let's wait for the result from there. So what we have here, you can see we have negative 2 plus 1 over 2 plus 1 over 3. We can look for a common denominator here, which is 6. 1 into 6, that is 6 times negative 2, negative 12. 2 into 6, 3. 3 times 1 plus 3, 2, that's 2. So negative 12 plus 3, that is negative 9. Then negative 9 plus 2, you have negative 7. So this will be negative 7 over 6. So what we have here is negative 7 over 6. You can see that this will just turn out to be 10 over 3, negative times negative, positive 7 over 6. Then let's simplify this. The common denominator here is what? 6. 3 into 6 is 2, 2 times 10, 20, plus 6 into 6, 1 times that, 7, 27 over 6. 3 there, 2, 3 there. If you want here, you can use your calculator. So 3 there, we have 9. Then 2 into 9, that is 4.5. So you can write this as 4.5 or 4.5. So this is the answer. This is the answer to the integral that we had. Okay. So the next question is this one. It says simplify. So it says simplify 2m minus 8 divided by m squared minus 16. So in mathematics paper 2, in mathematics, when they ask you to simplify algebraic fractions, all they are asking you basically is to factorize, okay? So try to see which term can be, which expression can be factorized, and see if you can simplify and cancel out similar terms. So we just want to see if we can factorize some expressions here. So let's start. So we have 2m. So 2m minus 8 over m squared minus 16. Okay. So you see that the numerator here, we can factorize something. So 2 is common, so 2 will be out. Then here I'll remain with the m. In other words, the 2 and the 2 cancel. Then 2 into negative 8, that's negative 4. You can see. Then what are we going to have down there? Can we factorize this? You need to be familiar with something called difference of two squares, okay? So there's something called difference of two squares that looks like this. A squared minus b squared. So every time you see an expression of this form, a squared minus b squared, all you can do is write it like this. Okay, so just for a moment, just try to forget about the squares. So when you forget about the squares, what you're going to have is a minus b. Then repeat the same thing with a different sign. So to be a plus b. So this is what we call the difference of two squares, and that's how you factorize it. So let's see if we can write this term, because I'm suspecting that this is a difference of two squares because of presence of the square and the minus there. Okay. So let me see if I can write this term, this expression like that. So this can be written as m squared. You can see that 16 can be written as 4 squared because 4 times 4 is 16. So it will be minus 4 squared. Now that we have this form, we can now use this definition to factorize it. We know that we're going to have, so just forget about the squares for a moment, and you're going to have m minus 4. Then you repeat the same thing with a different sign, m plus 4. So you can see that here we have m minus 4 and there m minus 4. So what can we do? We can cancel these two terms. So what we're going to have now is 2 divided by m plus 4. So we have simplified this expression. So this is the answer, and it gives you 2 marks. Okay, let's see what we have in the next question here. Okay, the next question says solve the equation 3x squared minus x minus 5 equals 0, giving your answers correct to 2 decimal places. So this is on quadratic equations, okay? So this comes from quadratic equations, and in mathematics paper 2, you'll be asked to solve an equation that looks like that, okay? So what are we supposed to do? Okay, so you need to, first of all, know the formula that we use to solve a quadratic equation, okay? So to find the roots here, to find the solutions to this equation, you need to be familiar with an equation. In fact, the examiner provides this formula. When you just open your mathematics paper 2 paper, okay, there's a sheet that has formulas, okay? You find that formula there. So all you need to do is you write down the formula and use it to find the solutions. Okay, so let's write down the formula together. So to find the solutions here, we want to find the values of x. So we shall say x is equal to negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac, everything divided by 2a. So this is the quadratic formula, or the Barth formula as other students call it. So all you need to do here is identify A, B, and C, okay? So in this case, in fact, I want you to know that a quadratic equation has this form. Ax squared plus bx plus c. A is the coefficient of the squared term, b is the coefficient of x, and c is the constant, the number without a variable. Okay, so every time the examiner gives you this quadratic equation, check that it has this form. If it does not have this form, you need to modify it a bit and put it in this form. After that, you now need to write down what is your A, your B, and your C. Then get them, you substitute them in the formula, then you'll be able to find the solutions. Okay. So for example, in this case, it's very easy because we already have a 0 here, so it has this form, okay? So we know that our A is here, our B is here, and our C is here. But sometimes the examiner might just try to make you rearrange the equation. For example, you can have something like this. Okay, solve the equation. So first of all, you need to make sure that what you are seeing there is a 0. In other words, you have to put it in this standard form. So what you're going to do is you bring these terms to the other side. So to be 2x squared, what follows should be x. So minus x, because it goes the other side. Then this one, minus 7. Then what remains there is a 0. Now that it's in this form, you can figure out what A is, what B is, and what C is there. Then you can now use them to substitute in the formula. Then you're good to go. Okay, so let's first of all know what our A here is. So A is this 3, B is -1, and C is -5. Take note there's -1 here. Okay, so we're going to say x is equal to negative. So what is B? B is -1. But remember, the formula already has negative, it's negative B, okay? So negative, but B is also what? Negative. So to separate the two signs, we're going to use brackets and say -1 there. Then plus or minus the square root of B squared, which is -1, but squared, minus 4. Then A is 3. Then C is -5. Then everything divided by 2 times A. A is 3. Okay, so we continue. X is equal to negative times negative there, positive. So we're going to have +1 plus or minus the square root of, this is -1 square, which is -1 times -1, +1. Then you can see this negative and that negative will give us positive. So we can just say positive here. Then we can now multiply these. So this is 4 times 3, which is 12. 12 times 5, that's 60. So we have 60 here. And everything divided by 2 times 3 is 6. Okay, so what do we have? So we're going to say x is equal to 1 plus or minus the square root of 1 plus 60 is 61 divided by 6. So at this stage, we can figure out what the square root of 61 is using our calculator. So we're going to use our calculator. So I'll say x is equal to plus or minus. So at this stage, you punch in your calculator and say, what's the square root of 61? So 7 point, this is what I'm getting here. So you should get something that looks like that. You write everything because this is not the final answer. So it will be, so 1 plus or minus. Remember, there's 1 plus or minus. So 7.810249676, and everything divided by 6. Okay, at this stage, you have to remember and know that we have two cases here. We are dealing with two cases. One of the cases is the plus case. The other one is the minus case, okay? So you need to handle those cases. So we're going to have two answers here. So let's have those cases. So case 1, x is equal to 1. Let's get the plus. So 1 plus 7.10249676, everything divided by 6. Okay, we shall say, or the other case is the minus part, or x is equal to 1 minus 7.10249676, everything divided by 6. Okay, so x is equal to what here? So remember our answer was this. So I need to add 1 there. So I'll just say plus 1 to the answer. If you want, you can write it again. You can say 1 plus this. So once you say plus 1, your calculator will give you this answer. Don't just erase it. The same answer, you need to divide by 6 now. Okay, so after adding the result, you now divide by 6. So I'll divide by 6 like this. So divide by 6. Then I'm getting something that looks like that. Let me write it down. So 1.468374.946. Okay. Or the other value. So this one again, you can say 1 minus, you can write it down again. But I know that this was just the square root of 61. I know this was the square root of 61. So if I want, I can just go back, because I don't want to waste time writing that again. So it's this same value here, which is this. Okay, so this time around, I'll say 1 here, then minus this part. So I'll say 1 minus the answer that I have, which is this. If you want, you can write it down. It's okay if you have time. Okay, so this is what I'm getting. Then I'll say divided by what? 6. Okay, so I have negative 1.1350411613. Okay, we are almost there. The last part is now to check. Okay, according to the instructions, they are saying we should leave our answers, we should give our answers correct with 2 decimal places. So by 2 decimal places, what we mean here is after the decimal point, we should only have 2 digits. Okay, so after the decimal point, we should have 2 digits here. So we should end up to there. Now we need to look at the number that comes after this last digit of interest. Okay, so the number that comes after this is what? 8. So we need to add 1 there. So it means x will be 1.47, or x is equal to what here? The same thing here. So 2 digits here. But look at the number that comes after 3. It's 5 again, so we need to add 1 there. So x is equal to negative 1.14. Remember, you only add 1 if the number that comes after that last digit is from 5 to 9. But if it's from 0 to 4, you don't need to add anything. You just leave it like that. So what do? We say this is our final answer. Okay, I think for the sake of time, I don't want to make this video so long. I'll end here, but I have other questions that I've prepared. If you want, you can try them. So this is the solutions. You can take a screenshot if you want. Yeah. So I've prepared these other questions. You can try them on your own, but I'll create a video where I'll explain how to go about such type of questions. I also have this other question is on computer, but I'll create another video where I'll explain about the basic steps on how to solve it. Otherwise, it's bye for now.